Hello and welcome to the first episode of FilmHammer. I'm Kirk-Robinson, writer and filmmaker. Now, you might be wondering why a writer and filmmaker would be reviewing films. Doesn't that seem like a really bad idea? Well, you've got to remember that the majority of the great film directors and producers all learnt their trade by watching the films and analysing the films of those who came before them. So if it's good enough for them, it's good enough for us. And with that note, welcome to my glass house. Let's throw some stones. Today's film comes to us from across time itself. Created in 1895, La Charcuterie Mécanique, also known to the English-speaking world as The Mechanical Butcher, is widely regarded as the first science fiction film ever made. Now, I'm a major sci-fi nerd, and I got my start in sci-fi through film and television, so I absolutely had to see this film. It was created by the Lumiere brothers, Auguste and Louis, who basically invented cinema as we know it now. Instead of following the single viewer system where you just stand by a machine, put your money in and have a look into it, like the Thomas Edison kinetoscope, the Lumiere brothers cinematograph was a wider audience machine that allowed several people to sit in a room and watch the same film at the same time. I know, standard practice these days, but revolutionary at the time. And to promote their invention, they would make some of their own films, The Mechanical Butcher being one of them. It's 45 seconds long, and it's out of copyright, so let's watch it in its entirety. Those sick Victorian bastards. You know, if I wasn't already a vegetarian, watching that film might have possibly kind of made me think twice about perhaps not having any more meat ever. Maybe, but probably not. I can't even finish that, seriously. Oh my goodness, what did we just watch? This is obvious comedy. In fact, the Lumiere brothers called it a humorous subject. It's basically the presentation of an idea more than anything else. The idea that a machine could automate the process of butchery and take a live pig and turn it into sausages and various other meats within seconds for a butcher to sell. It is essentially a short, very short, film about automation and how it makes people's lives easier, which is a subject that would cause an awful lot of debate in science fiction circles over the coming century. Is it good? Well, it's hard to say. It's certainly different. It was interesting and had a message that clearly resonated with audiences of the time, since the idea was ripped off for several other films. George Albert Smith ripped the idea off in his 1897 film Making Sausages, aka The End of All Things, while Thomas Edison's film company would essentially remake that film twice, first in 1901 as Fun in a Butcher Shop, and then again in 1904 as the horrifyingly titled Dog Factory. So although now it looks like a bunch of guys putting a pig in a box and then taking meat out of another box, since that's exactly what's going on, back then it was clearly an interesting little film that predicted the production line and factory processed foods that we all know and tolerate today. It was interesting enough to get others to expand on the idea later, and unless there are other films that have sadly been lost to time, it is the first ever science fiction film. As for what I think, well, I'm glad I saw it. It's short, and there's really not an awful lot we can say about the production itself as a result. And it's all done in one take, or if there are multiple takes, then I couldn't actually spot them because the editing would have been really, really good for the time. The mechanism itself is surprisingly detailed, with a large moving wheel and smoke coming out of the machine, so there's quite a nice effect there. Yes, special effects and weird scientific mechanisms have been part of science fiction cinema literally from the start. It would have been nice to get close to the action so we would see what was actually going on, because at times it kind of gets hard to make out what exactly is being pulled out of the mechanical butcher itself. But I get the impression that putting the camera anywhere except dead on would have spoilt the illusion, so maybe we're best off without seeing that. Overall, I'm actually quite impressed with this. It's not a masterpiece, not by a long shot, but it was the first, and for what it presents, it does it quite well. I'm glad I saw it, and I'm glad that we've been able to actually have a look at it. It is, as I say, from the dawn of cinema, so for it to have survived this long is actually quite impressive. So, with all that being considered, it's actually good for what it is, and certainly from the time that it was produced. It set off something special, and I think for that, we can certainly all be very happy. So, I think that's where we really should stop this first episode. I hope you enjoyed what you saw. I certainly did, and I'm very appreciative of being able to look back to the 19th century to see some cinema. And I hope that you'll tune in next time for something completely different. But until next time, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this, and if you did, remember to click that like button. Share this with your friends so that they'll know a good film when they see it, and do subscribe for future videos because there will be more in the future. But until next time, I've been Zoe Kirk-Robinson, you've been watching FilmHammer on the Knobmouse channel, and I'll see you later. Today's video is brought to you by my graphic novels, The Collected Life of Knobty Mouse, Volume 1, All Over the House, Volume 1, and All Over the House, Volume 2. Thank you.